Hey, welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to Recruiting Insight. This is the place to be if you want to connect with the most successful recruiters, hiring managers, and innovators in the real estate industry. Hey, it's a great day to recruit, and today we're going to be joined by Sarah Zdeb. Sarah is the founder and CEO of JPAR Carolina Living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she has done something that many real estate leaders have attempted, but few have accomplished. What's that? Start a real estate brokerage from scratch and then grow it into a multi-office company with more than 100 agents. It's the goal that most real estate entrepreneurs have in mind when they start a brokerage, and today, Sarah is going to share some of her secrets on how she actually made it happen. Also, near the end of our discussion, Sarah is going to tell us about an innovative process that she has developed to consistently generate experienced agent recruiting referrals. It's something even my most successful clients have not figured out yet, and it's one of the reasons that Sarah is going to grow her company by a net 50 agents this year. So let's get started. We got a lot to learn. Hey, Sarah, thanks for joining us this morning. It's great to see you again. So a little background, Sarah and I first met each other in a group coaching environment about earlier this year, and she was one of the star students for sure in this group, and I knew I wanted to get her in to meet the rest of the Recruiting Insight audience because she has done some amazing things. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. That's quite the introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, I truly was amazed by many of the things that you're doing and the input that you had in that group. As we get started, can you just tell us a little about your real estate journeys? How'd you get into real estate, and how'd you end up owning a brokerage?
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you, I started in nursing, and I moved down to North Carolina from Michigan, and realized very quickly I didn't want to be put on a waiting list because we were having a waiting list for nurses at the time. And so I jumped into commercial real estate as an assistant. And from there, and that was we won't say how old I am, but it was more than 20 years ago. And then in 2008, with the tides turning, I never needed a license, but I had always been told by everyone that I had worked with that I should have gotten my license. So when 2008 rolled around, we saw the signs coming. I jumped in and got my license and started in residential, and everybody thought I was nuts. But then here I sit today as an owner because I just figured out that, actions speak louder than words, and you have to have hustle, grit, and grind and wake up every day with a passion and remind yourself of that passion. So I was able to go from solo agent to being an agent who ran a team to running a franchise office for another brand to now owning my own franchise.
So I've heard this. You'd be amazed at the number of times I've heard this about high performers, high performing broker owners, team leaders, others who got in during the downturn. And so here's another story that's where this has happened. What were you thinking when you were doing that?
I was thinking, I didn't want to be at somebody else's disposal. Really is what it came down to. I didn't want to have somebody else controlling my destiny, my income, my hours. And I really wanted to have, a true freedom, an unlimited ceiling in everything I did, in my life. I mean, it was a good eye opener.
So particularly with with this brokerage, then, so obviously it's grown quite a bit. You got your own license, and eventually, so you actually started this brokerage. I think it was in 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started. Okay. We opened our doors August of 19.
Okay. So again, you picked great timing. Picked it right before the pandemic, or within a few months of the pandemic. So because you went through the last turn, I'm guessing that it wasn't too disjointing for you. So tell me about the growth pattern in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so we've been able to net a solid 50 plus agents every single year, and that includes through the whole pandemic. It's been really steady growth for us. I've been very purposeful in it being steady and not just peaks and valleys.
So can you tell me a little about your business model and then how you would, how you differentiate yourselves just as a brokerage from your competitors?
Absolutely. We are completely full service. So we are going to have all the support, the training, the technology that everybody says that they want and need to be able to grow their business. And yet we do it on a flat fee model. So we're not the cheapest kid on the block, and we never intend to be. Our goal is always to provide the most value for the lowest price as a package. So I love to tell people we're kind of like the Costco of real estate. As far as being able to put together some high quality packages for agents at a very, very low cost.
Okay. And so when we were in group coaching together, I think you hit one of those really key benchmarks, which was to get over 100 agents, which is a great celebration. So where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, we will be over 500 agents across the state of North Carolina. Our goal we're called Carolina Living. We started in Charlotte, which is a border city of South Carolina. So we will have South Carolina agents as well, right up there at that border. But our goal is to provide Carolina Living to our agents as a whole and create a family of agents throughout the Carolinas.
Well, I'm excited to watch and watch that growth, and for some reason I think you might do it, as you go forward. So I wanted to drill down on one issue here that I think a lot of the listeners of Recruiting Insight struggle with. There's a lot of people who are in our audience here who have started brokerages, they've started teams, they're team leaders, and there's this whole idea of, okay, I start something, I get a few things going here, and then there's this big chasm between actually building a long-term sustainable business. So, and this isn't just in real estate, of course. This is pretty much in every sort of startup that's out there. How do we cross that chasm from in real estate? It's from doing maybe it's 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 agents to now up to where it's actually a scalable business that's on much more solid ground. So how did you do that? How did you cross the chasm?
So people will tell you a lot about balance and delegation. And I tell people to throw those words right out the window. It's more about harmony and leverage. So really finding harmony, it's always a series of counterbalances. When you're first starting up, you're wearing 10, 20 hats, and you have to find a harmony to be able to not get burnt out, right? You've got to be able to put in some of that personal time. You have to be able to put in some relaxation time. You have to recharge, or you'll burn yourself out very quickly as a leader. And at the same time, you have to be able to learn to let go and allow others to help you leverage in your business. Delegation can seem more of like a pointing fingers, like I need you to do this for me. Or how about leverage is, can I show you how to do it? We'll do it together, and then I'm going to let you spread your wings and fly with it. And that empowers people so they want to be part of the process. And I think that mentality is what took us over the edge.
Yeah, no, I love that harmony and leverage. I think if we want to get a takeaway from today, I think that'd be a great one right there. But let's go a little further. What are some of the everything doesn't go as planned in these types of startups. So what are some of the obstacles you had to overcome?
2020 was probably the first one. Actually, I would say the first one would be nobody knew the brand at first. Just like a lot of other brands, we have a lot of big brands that are well known today that were not well known back in the day. And so the first thing was having to create brand awareness. Once you created brand awareness, then I would say, 2020 decided to just throw a wrench in the plans, and we all just did what we had to do to get through 2020. And I tell people, I'm like, I think there was with 2020, certain people were able to step forward, certain people fell back, and I feel like we did a really good job of being able to step forward. So I will say the biggest challenge outside of brand awareness that everybody struggles with was having brand awareness and the whole quarantine pandemic situation thrown at us.
Yeah, I think it's, of course, that was a challenge for everyone. I just wonder, maybe you would say this, but I think there's a lot of leaders who had been to the previous downturn that didn't freak out. That said, okay, I've been in hard times before. I've been through something difficult. I've seen this work out, and that provides the kind of the 10,000 foot view level to not stay focused on what needs to be done.
Yeah, I feel like really good leaders learn how to ping pong effectively. We understand what it's like to be boots on the ground, and we have to know what it's like to have boots on the ground so that we know really truly what agents need in those times of fear or distress. But we also have to be able to pull ourselves up to a 10,000 foot view and say, is what I'm doing today going to push me forward tomorrow? Because we know that it doesn't last, that, the recession didn't last. We had the depression, we've had war, the recession, then we have the pandemic. But one thing we do know is that they don't last. So is what I'm doing today going to help my agents today, but is it going to pull us all forward for tomorrow?
Yeah, no, and it's just that, good leaders say, they need to have that kind of vision. Otherwise, there's a lot of people in the trenches, if you want to use that war mentality, who do get paralyzed. They do get, hey, now what do I do, and get stuck that way. So let me ask you this one. I want you to finish a sentence for me. This is something we worked on before. I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for what? How would you finish that sentence?
My tribe. When you get into this industry, it's all about relationships. I tell people it has everything and nothing to do with you as an individual. It'll be everyone that you touch and build relationships with. It'll be everything that you learn and you culminate in your experience to bring to other people, right? But anybody is capable of doing it in this industry. So it's not that it's just Sarah is the only person in the whole world that could ever do this. There's lots and lots and lots of other versions of Sarah's personalities out there that are experienced and relationship builders. But if you don't actually build a tribe, people who have your back thick and thin, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's going on in the industry, I would never have made it without my tribe.
Yeah, I know some of your tribe, and you do have a great one. You have some great people around you, and it's interesting to hear you say that. Well, let's drill down a little bit more on actual recruiting. So you don't grow a business like yours without recruiting. That really is the baseline, for a lot of what you do. I mean, you have to be able to deliver on your value proposition, of course. But tell me about a little bit about your recruiting philosophy. What are some of the high level things that you think through, and then some of the methodologies that you're using?
Sure. We're more about quality versus quantity. So for us, it's about character. Are you coachable? Are you wanting to produce? We know that people will be like the top 5 people that they spend their time with. So we're creating an atmosphere of producing agents, which is really fabulous. And then to drill down into that with our methodology, I like to have conversations with people. So when I'm recruiting, it's not just here's what I have to offer conversation. It's tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What are you doing? What are your goals? Learning their personality type and really getting a group of agents together it's almost like a vacuum effect. They're all going to pull themselves up, right? So I think it's just a great group of people that we have.
Yeah. So let's get a little more specific here. So what percentage of the hires that you do are new agents versus experienced agents?
We're just less than a quarter of new agents. So we're mostly producing agents.
Okay. So most of your focus is on producing or experienced agents. Then how do you generate leads in that environment? What are some of the techniques that you're doing to get these conversations going?
Well, a lot of it comes down to the relationship building and the tribes that we have. I'm super grateful for, having had the reputation of being a good agent to work with. That actually started the first set of agents that came over. Most of the agents that came over in the very beginning, that first few dozen agents, the first 2-3 dozen agents were people who had either personally cross-sailed with me and knew my reputation, served on boards with me, or had heard of me through someone else and said, no, I remember your name coming up from either this event or this agent. So really, I think, if you're going to drill down to the first portion of my my methods, it would be starting based off of those relationships.
Okay.
And then to grow from there, you have to deliver on the promises that you make. So if you say you have good technology, you actually have to show them regularly what kind of technology they have available to them. You have to show them that if you say you have good support, that you're going to be there for them. And really what it is continuing to build from the inside out. So we're building relationships, we're having conversations, and then utilizing that and saying, hey, Ben, you and I have had a great relationship. You've been here for a couple of years. You're telling me that you still love what we have to offer you. Do you mind? Can I get a video snippet or a testimonial statement from you that I can use so that when I am talking to someone who doesn't know our brand, who doesn't know me as a person or some of the agents in our office, maybe we're breaching a new territory. Can I get something from you, or have them call you to validate what we have to offer here? So it's really a different foundational method versus just a cold calling, which we still do, but.
So with these, and I think this is the way most recruiting is done, especially experienced agent recruit. There's a networking, building relationships, making connections, having referrals. Just all the that blocking and tackling. That's just good relationship types of things that are going on. But you guys also do some direct marketing sort of things. When it comes to actual hires, what percentage of your hires would you say come from that whole networking philosophy versus the direct methodologies you use?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that we're probably about 60% referral, 40% outside marketing.
Okay.
I think last year's numbers was 63% referral based, which is fabulous for us. And then 47% came from our email and text marketing.
And I hear that even the best digital marketing companies, and I think you guys are just what I know about JPAR as a company are one of the best that are out there. You guys have great methodologies, but even so, we see that 60-70% still coming from actual the what we probably consider traditional sort of networking that's going on. So it's interesting to see that play itself out. What's the timeline typically for an experienced agent from when you make first contact? Is this a 3 months, 6 months, 9-month, year type of process? How much follow-up's necessary really to consistently hire experienced agents?
Minimum of 5 follow-ups, absolute minimum. Like we know the statistics behind it, and we will never do less than 5 follow-ups. It is typically an 8 to 12 month process on most experienced agents. And that really I've found has a lot to do with the season that they're in. A lot of them, as we continue to get into our spring and summer market, when they do get really, really heavy into showings and appointments, it makes it a little bit harder for them to transition over. I've noticed that like April, May, and June, I will typically end up with a few more on the new side than the experienced side. As we start getting into the school season or the fall and winter season, we definitely see more experienced agents making the transitions because it's usually 8 to 12 months for a high producer to really start getting themselves prepared, wrapping their brain around the change, because change is never easy. And it does create fear in a lot of people. So unless their pain that they are currently experiencing is really heavy, even if it is more of a financial benefit for them to make a move to our model, we notice that it does take them time to kind of gather their database, gather, some of the things that they need to organize so that they can make their move and be comfortable with it. And it's really a mentality for those agents.
So if we just put those two statements together, so we have the 8 to 12 month lead time, and we know that people generally make changes, experienced agents, particularly in the in the fall winter time. So we've got to be planting seeds. I mean, it isn't like we're not doing work in the spring and summer. We're planting like crazy in the summer. I'm guessing you are, so that you have a harvest when it comes to the fall and winter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You really have to work. The first 2 quarters of the year are really setting the foundation for what you'll see at the end of your third and into your fourth quarters for recruiting. So you don't have any less work earlier on in the year. It's just that you don't typically see the fruit of your labor until later on in the year.
Yeah, and I think it's just something that most hiring managers really struggle with because, especially with experienced agent recruiting, because there's a sense that, hey, I seem to be doing all this work, but I'm not getting any result out of it. So then I don't do the work, and of course then I don't get the harvest later. So it's really great to hear you say that and articulate it this way. I think there's many people that just need that kind of encouragement to stay in the game in those first 2 quarters, and so they can have a great harvest when it comes to the third and fourth quarter. So let's pivot one more time before we wrap up. I mentioned in the intro that we were going to talk about one of the referral techniques that I think you do better than most people I've talked to when it comes to doing coaching and experienced agent recruiting. And as we discussed in the intro, I don't think you have the name for this. You came up with the name. It's actually one of your peers, JJ. So we'll credit JJ for this. But one of the and this is the idea of what JJ calls a grow meeting. And this is working with those vendors that are around your business. We sometimes call them outside influencers, and having a very structured relationship with those so that you're obviously giving them benefit through leads and other things by being associated with your business. And then here's where I think a lot of managers fall down. There's an expectation then set that they would actually give you referrals back. So you can tell me a little about your grow meeting environment.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to having a really good tribe. When you know that you have vendors that are just solid in what they do and time again are there for you, they're there for your agents, they're there for the clients. It makes it a lot easier for you to have a symbiotic relationship. And I feel like there's a hesitation for people to have the conversation around, I know you want to make money too. It seems to be a very tough conversation, very easy words to say, but a very tough conversation. Hey, Ben, this is Sarah over at JPAR Carolina Living. I love the fact that you're one of my agent's favorite home inspectors. I know you want to make money too. Is there something that we can do together so that we're growing together? Because if you know people that are unhappy and you bring them the JPAR and I can make them happier, we already know that they're going to stay with you, but then they're going to tell more people about you and they're going to tell more people about JPAR. Is that not a win-win for both of us? And just having those conversations where you get to truly help somebody else with their business, going through and talking to them, well, what are you doing for this? What does your CRM look like? What does your follow-up look like? What does your marketing look like? And helping each other in those categories that it doesn't matter what industry we're in. We all need marketing help. We all need back-end help. Ask them, hey, do you have an admin? As you're looking for leverage in your tribe, make sure that they're the ones that you go to and talk to them regularly. Have regularly monthly meetings or lunches, and getting them involved with your agents and then taking them off to the side and saying, how are you doing and how can I help you? Because it's such a great relationship to know that you guys have similar goals, even if your paths are parallel because you're in different industries, even though our industries, coincide with each other. It's great to know that you're working with people with the same goals and mindset because it makes you guys both reach your goals faster. And it's just a great symbiotic relationship to just ask them, hey, how can I help you grow? And is there a way that we can grow together? So don't be afraid to ask, can we grow together? Who do you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love the how you language it. I can tell you've thought through this and I've actually tested it and tried it and do it on a regular basis. That's why it comes out so naturally. It's great to hear. So let's. How many of these folks would you say you have in your network? Is it 12, 15, or what kind of range do you have here as far as vendors that you have a close relationship with?
Yeah, we have 12 currently on our roster right now, our vendor roster that we keep. And I think it's important to note that when you're looking for a tribe, if somebody is in that phase of building their vendor tribe, right? I have a vendor tribe, I have a personal tribe, I have a professional tribe. But in my vendor tribe, one of the great things is figure out who already works with other vendors that you like. Do you have lenders that are constantly referring to the same insurance people? Right? Do you have attorneys or title companies that are referring back and forth to the same lenders or insurance people? Because here's the thing, if they're all doing a really good job in servicing the client to the best of their ability, why wouldn't you get people who already work together? Because all you're doing is helping each other grow. They already love each other. They already refer to each other. All you get to do is put yourself in the inner circle. And now you have added a layer to people who can refer to them and that they can refer back to you. And it literally just, it's kind of like compound interest, right? You had two people working together, three people working together, and you're all bringing your spheres in and allowing each other to gain that compound interest off of a professional relationship.
Yeah, I like that. I like how that you put that in the sense that if they already know each other, then it does easily become a tribe in the sense that these people are all working for a common thing. So I also like it that you have a list. And I remember when we first talked about this some months ago, you said that hey, not everybody gets on the list. I only get to have 12 here, or maybe you can pick a number, right? But to be on the list means that you have certain responsibilities. That JPAR is going to make a certain commitment to you. That we're going to have regular meetings. We're going to talk about sharing leads. Is this the kind of the structure? I remember this correctly?
Yeah, we actually call it an SLA, or a service level agreement. And that was something I came up with because I'm really big about walking the talk or practicing what you preach, whatever you're saying is for it, putting action to the words, um, but it outlines everything very clearly so that way I don't have to ruin my personal relationship with you. If something has occurred, right, we allow them, it's kind of like a 3 strikes and you're out. We outline, hey, depending on your industry, you've got either hours or up to 48 hours to respond to our agents, and making sure that their requests are being taken care of. If we receive 3 complaints, you're gone. We document everything. We come to you with every complaint that we have so that we can say, hey, how can we prevent it from happening again? Sometimes it's just being human and having to give grace. Sometimes it's that was a really big boo-boo. We need to make sure that we put procedures in place so that we don't have to ever cross this line again. But it helps kind of outline the expectations on both sides. Hey, I'm going to do this for you as long as you're doing this for me. And as long as we're both doing our job, right, professionally together, then we can actually create that symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I think you just don't leave this to chance. You actually have a structure in place, and then once you have a structure in place, and you have some expectations that are not just nebulously stated out there; they're actually written down. I know it starts with the relationship. You got to have great relationships initially, but to layer on top of that, like this SLA, the service level agreement, really seems like it solidifies and professionalizes and makes these relationships work better.
It does. It simplifies it for everybody. It outlines the expectations. They say disappointment comes from unmet expectations. Well, here we have everything we can in writing. It kind of lets both of us breathe a little bit, knowing that we have, everything outlined for us. And that's after they've gone through an interview process. You either have to have known me or my agents I have to see your work outside of an SLA first to know that you are servicing the client and my agent to the best of your ability. And knowing that my client or my agent is really super happy with you, because we're both going to put our reputations on the line for each other. So it's not something to take lightly. I tell people, I'm like, professionally, I'm married to a lot of people as far as my reputation and my brand goes, right? I'm married to a couple of home inspectors. I'm married to a couple of lenders. I'm married to a couple of attorneys. And it just makes it easier for us to keep our professional relationship within a certain guideline so that our agents can also sit back and breathe, because then they know that the vendors that we are choosing for them, are either coming from their peers directly or from someone like myself who's been in the industry a long time. So they know they're going to get quality. They know they're going to get, the quantity too of service and be able to handle the level of clients that we're asking them to take on. So my agents actually get to step back and breathe too. And that is as an owner, you have to think, if I were an agent in this brokerage, would I be okay with this decision too? Because sometimes owners will make decisions based on their bottom line and not actually go far enough to think, are my agents going to understand and appreciate what I'm putting in place for them?
Yeah, no, I love it. And of course, the side benefit of all this is recruiting referrals. You're obviously, once you create this environment, it attracts other people to it because you just got a great thing going. It's amazing. Well, as we finish up here, I want to just ask you kind of one final question. And there's many people in our audience, as I mentioned before, that are hope to get to your stage. And right now, they're in that below 10. One of the previous guests that we had on, Lisa Shinati, said, when you're below 10, that's the danger zone. You can lose 2 or 3 people and it just devastates what you're doing. So if someone's in that danger zone or in that below 10 agents right now, they're really trying to cross that chasm, what advice, kind of a final piece of advice would you give them to be successful and make it?
It would be twofold. I would tell them to, one, take a step back and talk to the 10 they have those conversations. Why did they choose to be there? And why are they choosing to stay? Right? And just make it a conversation. They don't have to realize that it's more of an interview for them to be able to go through this process, but have a real conversation, a stay conversation. Take them out to coffee. Don't let it be in the office, but just a one-on-one that just says, what is it that brought you here? What was the deciding factor? Because you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. It's kind of like a personal SWOT analysis at this point, right? With the 10 or so that you have. But then what you need to do is do an official SWOT analysis professionally. So what do I have to offer that the competition doesn't, that I know agents are going to be struggling with out there, that I can make a difference and make a change? So they need to be able to step back and say, do I know what I have as a strength? Do I know where I can leverage a weakness? Right? Because I've got to be able to bring that harmony in, right? And on top of it, am I willing to actually put in the work to be able to move this forward? Because I think where most owners will start to not win, I don't want to say lose, but not win, is they will give up too soon. They haven't gone through the entire mental sacrifice of, what if this takes me a year, 2 years, 3 years to be able to make it through this? They will give up way too soon. It's kind of like our follow-ups. They say you have to have at least 5. So then why are we stopping at 2?
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great discussion, and I really appreciate you sharing the amazing details of what you're doing at JPAR. With Carolina Living and the company that you're building. We're looking forward to seeing how this thing develops and watching your success coming forward. So for all those that are doing the hard work of recruiting every day, I want you to take what you learned today and go make a difference.